My name is Stephanie. I'm the director of the National Down Syndrome Adoption Network. And over the past few weeks, we've gotten a lot of questions from social media or email, and we would love to answer those. So we've compiled them, and we did almost like a top 10 of the most asked questions in the last few weeks, and I'd like to answer them for you. So the first question is are you an adoption agency? So we are not an adoption agency. We are a national domestic, which means within the United States, adoption program. We are here to help when an expectant parent or new parent calls us and they've received a diagnosis of Down syndrome for their child. We provide education on what Down syndrome is. We provide Down syndrome parent counseling. So we talk to them and answer their questions that they would have about parenting. And if they decide that they're going to parent their child, we refer them to their local parent group. If they decide that they want to make an adoption plan, we have a registry of families who are home study ready and who are approved to adopt a child with Down syndrome. And then at that point, we bring in an agency. We have relationships with agencies all across the United States who are experts in special needs adoption. So we connect the agency with the expectant family, and then that adoption agency helps with the legal process of the adoption. So we are here for information, resources, and support for expectant families, new families, and for adoptive families who are interested in getting on our registry. So the next question is, I live in Canada, Italy, Germany, United Kingdom, Australia. Can you help me adopt a child with Down syndrome? So we only work within the United States, but what I'm going to do is put a link below that will help you if you are outside of the United States, that you can contact your local Down syndrome parent group or Down syndrome association. They may have resources, or they may know of someone or some type of adoption program in your country, and they can help you maybe look into adopting a child with Down syndrome in your area. And again, I'll put a link below for you for that. And the next question is, I live outside of the United States. Can I adopt a child from the United States foster system? So, because the children that you'll see on our social media, if it says families needed for this child, and those are only children who are in the United States foster system. And if you live outside of the United States and you're on a military base, and if you're a U.S. citizen, yes, you can adopt a child from the United States foster system, and I will actually provide a link below for you for that as well. So the next question is, I want to provide foster care to a child with Down syndrome. Can you help me with that? So we are strictly an adoption program, but foster care, so if you're interested in providing foster care for a child with Down syndrome, you will contact your county Department of Child and Family Services Foster Adoption Division and let them know that you're interested in providing foster care for a child with Down syndrome, and then they can help you through those steps. And the next question is, why do you only post older children on your website, like the foster care page? I want to adopt an infant. So most kiddos in foster care probably start, we just had a child who was around 2, which is very rare. But usually children are, they're called legally free, that's the actual term, for adoption at around 3, 4, 5, depending on when they go into the foster care system, because the courts and their county want to provide as much time and resources for reunification, which means they want to get the child back into the birth family. So it might take a few years. So that is why you will not see an infant on our site. And if you want to adopt an infant, we also, about 90% of the calls that we get are private adoption situations, and 90% of those calls are infants. So if you want to adopt an infant, your best bet is to go through the private adoption process. And I will provide a link to our webinar, which talks all about the different processes and adoption and what type of home study you should get, things like that. And I'll throw that down below as well. I can't afford to adopt the children you are posting. Your fees are too high. I've seen this a few times. So number one, we charge absolutely no fees. We are a nonprofit program. We are supported by donations, so we charge no fees. The children that are in foster care, there are no fees associated with their placement. And if there are any fees, their state will hopefully will try to reimburse you for expenses like travel expenses, or if an attorney is needed, they'll reimburse. And what I can do is I'll provide a link below that kind of talks about what type of reimbursements, depending on the state that the child is in, that you may be able to receive. So the next question is, can I adopt a child that you posted a picture of? So we have a lot of times where we have a post and the post doesn't say, family needed for this child. It might be talking about an adoption topic, or, check out our webinar, but we might post a picture with it. And those pictures are actually children who have already been adopted through the NDSAN, and we have received written permission from the families to use their photos. So if you see a photo and it doesn't say, family needed for this child, that child has actually already been adopted through the NDSAN by an NDSAN family. Question is, I am interested in a child you have posted who is in foster care. Can you contact me about the child, or can you send my information for me? Yet we can only send NDSAN registered families, their home studies and their profiles. So if you are not on our registry, we are not permitted to send your information. But again, each child's page that we created on our website, there are instructions for folks who are not on our registry of how to send your information to the worker. And then the last question, how do I adopt a child with Down syndrome? Gosh, huge question with a very big answer. So much so that we created a webinar. It's a little over an hour long that will tell you all about how do you adopt a child with Down syndrome. This is within the United States. The adoption process, what type of home study should you get, what agency should you go with, things like that. And I will have that link posted below as well. So that will answer, the webinar will actually answer that question. And hey, if you have any additional questions, feel free to put them in the comments below and we will answer them. And you can also message us on Facebook as another way. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up and make sure that you've subscribed, and we will continue to do frequently asked questions. Thanks.